G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for watching the Wildkard Rugby Show. As always, it is my pleasure and privilege to talk about the greatest game in the world, rugby. And you know it's the greatest game in the world because the dogs out there are once again trying to kill the game by merging it with rugby league. Yes, the latest proposal for the rugby union and rugby league merger deal, right, is the introduction of the ban of what's called the hip drop tackle. Now, you might be asking yourself, what the fuck is a hip drop tackle, Wildcard? Well, ironically, the people that want the ban don't even know what it is themselves, and clearly they don't even watch rugby league themselves as well. So, they have cited the injury to Cameron Roigard as a hip drop tackle, and there was another injury to Lachie Lonergan as a hip drop tackle as well. So let's have a look at what happened to Lachie Lonergan, and let's see what the hip drop tackle, what they think a hip drop tackle looked like. So McDermott comes in from the right, from the side, grabs him, drop his leg onto Lonergan's leg, causing an injury to Lachie Lonergan. That's what they said. It's a hip drop tackle, and that's what they say it should be banned. Too many injuries are caused by this illegal move that's already being outlawed by rugby league. By the way, hip drop tackle is hated universally in rugby league. It is the worst law that has ever been introduced in rugby league. Everybody thinks it's absolutely ruining the game of rugby league. Pundits, professional players, everybody. You can ask anyone. Everybody thinks it's stupid. But hey, you know, the dogs out there, they want to make sure rugby union gets some of that. And yes, so they think that's a hip drop tackle. And let's look at the official definition of what a hip drop tackle actually is. So hip drop tackle consists of 3 key points. Number 1, a grip, obviously, for the tackle. Number 2, the player needs to rotate his body behind the ball carrier. Number 3, the player needs to drop his weight onto the ball carrier's legs as the key factor, as the key, I guess, I don't know what you call it, as the way to make the tackle. It needs to drop his weight on his legs as a weapon almost to make the tackle, as the tool that's making the tackle, right? Body weight onto the legs to tackle the player, right? So that's the 3 key areas consist of a hip drop tackle. Let's see an example for rugby league, right? Yep. Let's see an example from the official rugby league explanation. So that is a hip drop tackle right there. And let's hear what they have to say. Yep, the grab. The twist. There needs to be a clear twist by moving yourself behind the player. See how he's twisting him behind?
Body weight falling directly onto the legs.
And the body weight falling directly onto the legs or feet.
Next example.
Right? So that is the 3 areas that constitutes a hip drop tackle. And I don't think this is actually a hip drop tackle here because there's no what's called the twist, the rotation. McDermott just grabbed Lonergan from the side and dragged him down, essentially. There's no twist. So technically, I don't actually think that's a hip drop tackle by the official terms. And the Roigard tackle as well. This is the Roigard tackle on the weekend. Very unfortunate that he had an injury. He's out for 6 months, by the way. And this is just a side-on tackle on the hip. And Roigard just happened to fall on his leg. The player who made the tackle made no twist and definitely did not, as shown in this video here, using his body weight to land on the leg as the method to make the tackle, right? So that's 2 tackles that they cited that are technically, by the definition, not a hip drop tackle. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. I don't think these are. So now here comes the question. If they have identified the exact premise of the hip drop tackle, should it be banned? Right? Now that's the question. If, they somehow identify this to be an issue, should it be banned? So first off, they need to clearly define what a hip drop tackle actually is. Because even the referees in rugby league, they get a lot of grievances from the fans, from the pundits, for not identifying correctly what the hip drop tackle actually is and giving out penalties, wrong penalties, essentially. So Rugby Union, if they want to introduce this, they have to give a very clear definition of what a hip drop tackle actually is. And by the definition, both of those tackles are not, according to rugby league definitions, those are not hip drop tackles. Number two, they need to do a research on how often this actually occurs and how often it actually creates an injury. You can't just say something that creates an injury and ban it, because then you'll ban everything. You have to have like a percentage. You have to give an exact percentage number to see that this is dangerous or this has occurred in injuries, right? So you have to go, okay, these are the three things we look for, right? That counts as a hip drop tackle. How often this happened in the game? 3 times? Out of how many games does it happen for an injury? If one player gets injured a year out of, 1,000 test matches has been played, probably not 1,000, out of like 500 matches has been played over the year, is that enough? Is that enough to give the ban to like 1,500 hip drop tackles? Is that enough to ban it? Maybe you can decide, but it needs to be very clear, right? You need to give everyone exactly the stats. You have to tell everyone how many of this happened, what exactly consists of a hip drop tackle, and then how many injuries occurred as a result of it, right? So yeah, so ironically, I think that if they think this is dangerous, I'm all for it, but they need to show the evidence, and also both these tackles that are cited for the reason to introduce it, quick, ban it, guys, ban it, and not actually, by the definition, fits the definition of a hip drop tackle. So yes, let me know your thoughts on that, and let's move on. Cameron Roigard, again, like I said, 6-month injury, one of the most promising players coming through the ranks for the All Blacks, and 6 months, man. Surgery as well. So what's it called? He had a what is it called? It's a knee injury on the patella tendon. I don't know what that is, but yeah, it's not good. So, but yeah, hopefully he'll be back and he'll be fine. But really gonna miss this guy. He's top performer in Super Rugby right now, lighting up the competition on fire. And and he's looking really promising going up for the All Blacks as well. So that's a bit unfortunate. Moving on to more referee issues, I guess. So yes, the game between the Harlequins and Bath on the weekend was unfortunately marred by one of the Harlequins players returning to the field following a yellow card 3 minutes early. Yeah, so this is a really big issue out of this game as well, because the Harlequins was leading 40 points to 3, and then only for the Bath team to come back, almost winning the game 36 points to 40. And should the player not return the field earlier, might that have made the difference? You could potentially make the argument, but this was, definitely the referee's problem, because it's up to the referee to decide when a player can come back on or not, the assistant referees. And if they didn't do their jobs properly, so the RFU has to come out with a massive apology on behalf of the referees. And it's 100% the referee's fault. And if you're a player, you're told you can go back onto the field, you get back onto the field. You don't care what the time is. It's not your job to keep track of the time. But yeah, just subpar performance by the referee in the English Premiership there. In France, the big news out of there is that Romain Ntimack has returned to play for Toulouse on the weekend after, an ACL injury. Saw him out for how long? 6 months? How long has it been out? Like more than 6 months, I think. Probably 6 months at this point. And he's back. And ironically, he replaced Anton Dupont, who played in the 10 jersey early in the game. So he came on in the second half for Dupont, who played on 10 jersey in the first half, to get his first game in following his injury. Yeah, Ntimack is again a big win for the French team to have him back for the July and the November Test series. For the Wallabies, Mike Crome, the former All Blacks scrum coach, has been called into the coaching team for the Wallabies until, I guess, the end of Joe Schmidt's tenure till after the Lions tour, 2025, end of 2025. And yeah, this guy has been with the All Blacks from 2004 all the way to 2019. So he's won 2 Rugby World Cups. And yeah, he's absolutely instrumental in the scrummaging for the All Blacks. And more importantly, his work with the Blues has shown in Super Rugby in recent times. The Blues has by far the strongest scrums for the last number of years now. And really, the All Blacks, without him, from 2019 to 2024, the biggest issue for the All Blacks during that period when they suffered all that serious loss to Ireland is the lack of prowess in the scrummaging. Yes, it's until they finally brought in Jason Ryan from the Crusaders that the All Blacks scrum issue was finally fixed and got them back into the winning way. So that shows you how important the scrum coach actually is for an international test team. And yeah, having him in the Wallabies, my God, I am so happy, especially with younger guys like Angus Bell coming through the ranks. You would definitely need that tutelage from him to take him to the next level, to really become world class with so much talent instilled in Angus. Angus Bell has. With this right guidance, he can definitely get that next level to be one of the best scrummagers in the world. So I'm very, very happy following this news. Now moving on to South Africa, the URC. Yeah, so Joe Schmidt has come out and basically gave his 2 thumbs up to the success of the URC, and he's talked about how the URC has transformed the Springboks as well in some ways, which I kind of agree. I think the one thing that key point that he pointed out, I really agreed upon, is the fact that the URC plays with the Northerners, and there's a lot of different style of rugby being played, and that really carried through to the Springboks, how they're able to adapt to different strategies. And he's talked about how when the South Africans play it in the Super Rugby, it's all just one-dimensional, same style rugby on repeat. Only really one style that everybody had to play to gain the most success. So that actually detracted the overall development of a team. And he felt like, moving to URC, it's the best move for the South Africans, not just for the fans. Obviously big fan growth, lots of selling out stadiums, not just for the fans, but for the team development, for the Springboks as well. Yeah, I completely agree with Mr. John Schmidt, the former Rugby World Cup winner himself in 2007, the captain. And moving on to the New Zealand side. So yeah, New Zealand rugby is in a bit of a trouble right now. With Cameron Roigard out, it's by the number 1 pick for a number 9, and it's a pretty big gap between the top pick, Cameron Roigard, and the next up person. There's some talks that Finlay Christie might get that position again. Fakatava might get that position. But yeah, pretty far off compared to Cameron Roigard. And there was some talks that Razor Robertson has made contact with Sam Whitelock last week to try to get him to come back to play one more year for the test matches for the All Blacks. And Sammy Whitelock, instead of accepting the invitation, had decided to announce his retirement. Yeah, so he's not going to be back for the All Blacks. And it just shows how desperate that is, right? Robertson reaching out to try to get Sam Whitelock back. Whitelock, a 2-time World Cup winner. He was so young when he won the first World Cup in 2011. And yeah, he's it just shows that the talent pool is drying up in New Zealand. And there was some talk as well that Beauden Barrett, obviously, he's re-signed with the New Zealand Rugby to be able to play for test matches. He's not going to be playing in Super Rugby, but he's re-signed starting at the end of the Super Rugby season, so he will be able to play for the All Blacks. And there's some talks that he's going to be the savior for the All Blacks number 10 jersey, as Damien McKenzie is suffering a bit of a leg injury at the moment. And yeah, so Beauden Barrett's back, and who knows how that's going to turn out for the All Blacks. But then again, who's going to be a fullback? If you have Beauden back, who's going to be the fullback position? So the pipeline is running a little bit thin here for the All Blacks. And with that being said, more people are still going overseas. Fergus Burke become the latest person to go over to Northern Hemisphere, and he's going to be replacing Owen Farrell at the Saracens. Yeah, big money for him from the Crusaders. And with the Crusaders season in a dump at the moment, everything is not looking that great for New Zealand rugby. And the Crusaders has finally ended their win streak on the weekend. I have a pretty controversial take on this matter. I thought the performance from the Chiefs was just, some of the players was just really, really bad. And in my opinion, I think the game, some of the players had the mentality going into this game that it's okay to lose. First of all, there was a lot of media talks about the Crusaders, about how they're going to be successful, how this is going to be, there was a lot of talk about Crusaders. This is going to be the end of their losing streak. And I think maybe some of the media played into the mentality of the Chiefs team, because the Chiefs team out there were some players out there that were really poor. And I felt like the players were didn't care about losing this one, because they were kind of happy to get their mates, out of the trouble, so to speak. The performances was, some of the players were really, really bad. It's a bit of a controversial take. A lot of people think that that's not the case, but 4 tries scored on the same wing. I think that shows a bit of attitude issue there from some of the players on the field. But you can let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But yeah, congratulations, Crusaders. So the best performer on the field is Johnny McNichol. And Johnny McNichol had a little bit of run with the Wales national team, I think, with Wayne Pivac, due to injuries. Yes, he was not in the Wales team at all, I don't think. At least not in the starting 23 under Warren Gatland. And, he's the best player on the field. Shows how good this guy actually is, and how much he's really worked hard to get his team out of trouble. But also show that the Chiefs, really, the amount of All Blacks on the field really shouldn't be outshined by someone that could barely make the Welsh team, right? So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. That's my take. Controversial one. Moving on. Another interesting game that was out of the weekend was the bucketing down mud rugby that was played between the Fijian Endura and the Western Force. Yes, after the match, Nick White actually said, the one that got away, that's the one that got away. Nick, you have to actually have the win, right, in the bag before you can say that he got away. You were never in contention to win this match. Your team was horrendous, right? Both teams played in equally terrible conditions. The Endurers didn't let the conditions affect them, embraced the conditions, and the Western Force was just giving up. They took a penalty goal when they were 15 points behind in the second half, and just try to get off the field, try to call it a day already. You can see it. It was just embarrassing, and I think that, the Nick White really need to, some of the players, again, I wasn't happy. I thought the performance was really bad. I think this is just I called it, my review was that the Western Force snowflake syndrome, essentially. Just a bunch of snowflakes, don't want to play in the mud. And it was really poor performance there. So there was another crazy game on the weekend with 97 minutes where the Leicester Tigers, under Dan McKellar, finally scraped a win, apparently, when they had 12 players against the worst team in the competition, the Newcastle Falcons. So they scraped out a win against the worst team with 12 players on the field, and the game played an extra 20 minutes, nearly extra 20 minutes, to finally win the game. 13 points to 19. So, yeah, Dan McKellar, they have 100 Polar as their fly half, by the way. Yes, the 100 Polar that won the Rugby World Cup for the Springboks. And yes, the Leicester Tigers, I think they were 8th or something before winning this game. Now they're 5th. And the Tigers was 3rd last year before Dan McKellar took over. Yeah. And this is the Dan McKellar. Anyway, I'm not going to go on to talk about Isaiah Parisi for 3 hours. But Dan McKellar. Anyway, moving on. Jem Slipper became the most capped Australian Super Rugby player in history last week. Actually leveled, I guess, with Stephen Moore. And Slips, the veterans, getting himself in there. and his contract still got for another year, so he's definitely gonna surpass that by quite a bit. By the end of next year, he's gonna be there for the Lions tour. And so Max Jorgensen re-signed with the Waratahs last year with Australian last week with Australian Rugby, and he came out and revealed this week. And apparently, we have to thank Eddie Jones for this because he said that he wasn't able to play at the Rugby World Cup due to an injury. Really made him wanted to put on the gold jersey, and that's the reason why he decided to stay in Rugby Union. So Eddie Jones, believe it or not, did take him to the Rugby World Cup despite the fact that he was injured. And that was the inspirational factor, watching everybody play, watching everybody getting the gold jersey around him. And that's the inspirational factor that he took upon himself to re-sign with Rugby Australia. So yes, Eddie Jones has a little bit of credit to take here by taking Max Jorgensen to the Rugby World Cup despite the fact that he was injured and not able to play. There was a lot of criticism against Eddie Jones for this. Why did you take an injured player who can't play to the Rugby World Cup? But hey, maybe he is building to the future. Maybe we were all wrong about Eddie Jones. Yeah. Anyway, Israel Folau has returned to play in Japan Top League after 9 months out, and he was scored a try in 5 minutes or something. So yes, he is getting back in the, how long is it? 5 minutes or something? Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, Israel Folau still looking quite fit, actually. Look at him. Oh, no, that's him. That's when he was in the Waratahs. Of course, he looked fit back then. But yeah, he's still at it. There it is. And Dan Biggar, he was going to get pushed out of Toulon. And it was said that he might have been, he might be pushed out from Toulon because of Louis Carbonell being brought in. But Carbonell declined the offer to go to Toulon, and Dan Biggar will be staying there for now. And my dream of having Dan Biggar to come in play for the Western Rebels, for the Melbourne Rebels, is not going to happen. So yes, and that's the news for this week. Let me know your thoughts about any of these articles. Let me know your thoughts about the hip drop tackle. And thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for anyone who supports me financially. If you want to buy one of these shirts, links down below in the shop. And have a good one, guys. I'll see you guys this weekend. Cheers.